Hey everyone, it's Mari here for Honeybee Stamps. I have a really sweet card making project to share with you today using the gorgeous Hello Sweetheart collection from Honeybee Stamps. This collection contains a stamp set, a die set, and a stencil set. These are all sold separately. They work beautifully together. You can see that the dies cut out everything from the heart and all of those sentiments, and there's a ton of sentiments in this set. Here you can just see I'm going to show you how nicely the dies coordinate beautifully with the sentiments and trim those out perfectly for your projects. And then there's a set of 6 stencils that coordinate with the stamp set, and you can use these stencils to colorize your image. Now what I did with the image is I stamped it out with clear embossing ink, and I used some gold embossing powder, and then I heated it up and melted it to create this lovely gold embossed image. And I'm going to show you how I used this image with the stencils. So I'm taping the first stencil down onto the image with some Spellbinders yellow tape, and using my waffle flower stencil mat here, my honeybee blending brushes. And I'm going to first of all start off with some Lumberjack Plaid Distress Oxide ink. And I was going for a really different color scheme for me today. It's almost like an autumn color scheme, but I really wanted this for the Valentine's season, but it is actually going to be more of a thank you card, but inspiration for you for Valentine's season. And I just really wanted to do like reds and oranges and greens. I thought this is a really pretty palette, and I really like how it turned out. So there's the Lumberjack Plaid. Now I'm taking the second stencil. It doesn't matter what order you use these stencils in, to be honest. You can use them in whatever order you want, but they are labeled like flower stencil, leaves stencil, etc. So you can see on the stencil, they're actually etched with whatever stencil they are. So this next color I'm using here is Crackling Campfire. And so getting into some really deep orange here. And just going to go ahead and blend this on in that same way. You can just see I pick up the ink with my small blending brush there and go ahead using a circular motion, blending that ink onto those areas that are open on that stencil. And then this is the next stencil I'm using here for the florals. I'm going to use a little bit of ripe Persimmon Distress Oxide ink here for this one. And I just love this beautiful combination of the oranges and reds. I think is really pretty, and I think they coordinate nicely too with that gold ink, or I should say gold embossing powder. So here you can just see again using the nice blending motions there, circular motions. And I love these blending brushes from Honeybee too. Honeybee has the larger blending brushes, and then they also have the detail brushes. So you can use these smaller ones for these smaller areas for stencils where there's just small openings. And here you can just see I'm going in with the next stencil, and each time I go in with a new stencil, I do grab another piece of tape and just tape that stencil down to my waffle flower mat just so that it doesn't move. I don't want my stencil to shift in any way as I'm working away here. Now this is some Wild Honey Distress Oxide ink, and this is the finest detail brush from Honeybee, so you can just see how really small that is and great for the tiny little areas. And then this is my last stencil that I've got 2 more stencils left. I have 2 green stencils or 2 green inks that I'm going to be using on the leaf stencils. And so this one is Bundled Sage, and then I'm also going to use peeled paint. So this is the first leaf stencil that I'm using here of the 2 different leaf stencils, and just in that same way getting that Bundled Sage onto my brush, and then going onto the stencil and using those circular motions. And I just love that. I think it's so pretty. And I wanted to use a different color of green for my second leaf stencil, just to add a little bit of more interest to the project in that way. You can just see I'm using my paper towel roll to clean off that Bundled Sage, and I'm using the same brush for my peeled paint. And this is just a little bit of maybe a brighter green than the Bundled Sage. And it just is a nice contrast to the other green that I've used here. So I'm just going to finish that up, and that's going to be all of the ink blending for this beautiful panel. Now I wanted to wipe off the gold embossing with that paper towel there, so that's what I did there. Now these are the garden lattice cover plates. These are sold separately. There's a base and a top. So on the right there is the base, and on the left is the top, and you can see that they layer together beautifully just to create this really lovely layered dimensional background for your project. Now these are sized just perfectly for an A2 size card. So I'm going to add a little bit of my honeybee glue around the perimeter of this die cut piece from this white cardstock that I ran through my die cutting machine. I'll add a little bit of the glue to the inner part as well, just here and there, and I'll glue that onto the base. And I'll just make sure that it's lined up on the sides there in a couple of places before I really give it a good press. Now I'm going to take that and add it onto my A2 size top folding card base here. I'll add the liquid adhesive in the same way that I did with the top piece, and I'll add that onto my card base here again, just making sure that it's lined up on the side at the top and bottom on the left, and then ensuring as I press it down on the right there that it's all in place. I'll give that a good press, and now that's going to be nicely adhered to my card base. I'm going to add some of my round tabbed foam dots to the back of the heart. I'm adding enough so that each part of that heart is supported and won't be saggy on my card front. And I'm just going to go ahead and try to center this as best I can just by eyeballing it. I'll get that pressed into place, and now I'm going to add some white splatter. I did want this to be a little bit distressed looking and kind of a little bit vintage looking, so you can see that the Distress Oxide ink definitely contributes to that because it sort of has that chalky, dull look to it. The gold embossing powder really kind of adds that antique-y look as well. And now I'm going to distress it with those white splatters, and that's just some white gloss spray from Dina Wakley. You could use white acrylic paint or whatever you'd like for that. So now I'm going to use my Honeybee Intense Black ink to stamp out the sentiment from the Hello Sweetheart set. The sentiment is, "You are so kind." I'm going to stamp that onto some white cardstock, and then I'll take the coordinating die from the coordinating die set and go ahead and tape that into place over top of that stamped sentiment there. I'll take that to my Bitty Buzz Cutter, and I will just run that through my Bitty Buzz Cutter. I love this little machine. It's so compact. It's really great for little die cuts like this. Folds up perfectly and just sits over on the side of my desk. I'll just pop that out, and now that's all ready to add to the front of my card. I'm going to add a little bit of foam adhesive onto the back of this die cut to the very center of my card, or to my heart in that way. And this is just going to add that sentiment in the focal point of my little heart here. And I really love how that looks. Now I did want to add a little bit of bling to my project as well. So I'm going to be using the Autumn Pearl stickers from Honeybee, and I'm just going to put a few beside the top left corner of that sentiment and the lower right corner of the sentiment as well. I think I used 5 of these little pearl stickers in total. That's going to finish off my card today, friends. I have linked up to all of the different products that I've used from the Honeybee shop in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed, and I also want to show you I stamped the inside of my card as well. Have an amazing day, friends. Take care, stay well, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.